and welcome to Adamant Lives, episode 13. Unlucky for someone. This is the League of Uncharitable Ladies. And you know, one thing I don't get about the intro song is this.
Cold as a shot from a gun.
Surely shots from guns are a lot of things, but they are hardly cold. Now, I have an assignment for you all. Watch the shots in this episode. They're a little bit more mobile, a bit more impressive, and a bit more cinematic than usual. We open on a long walking shot, a very long walking shot, and given that the 60s BBC cameras tend to be roughly the size of a small bus, I'm very impressed that they managed to get them at all. My guess is they drove the camera, like a novelty car. They're making the stalking of a man in a bowler hat by a gang of smiling women with collection tins and tiny flags as terrifying as possible. Good work. He then gets run through by a blade.
Now, these men who have died, have they anything in common?
No, nothing of significance, anyway.
Apart from their importance to the nation.
Yes. And the fact that they were married, and the fact that they were human, and the fact that they were men.
Don't forget the fact that they breathed a mix of gases that included oxygen. We run straight into the action with Adamant actually being involved before the episode begins. Talking, and oh yes, talking. Adamant's investigating the charity group which gives out the flags, because we already know that they're the villains. Adamant mentions that he has a lifetime membership to a club that used to meet in the building that they're housed in. Of course, Miss Jones wants to be involved.
I would hardly have thought that such an establishment would appeal to you.
Why not? It'll be deliciously stuffy in there, and besides, I can go in. They're not likely to take you for a lady.
Certainly not, Miss Jones.
And with those two words, some people with a very particular fetish begin to cry, silently. Miss Jones is upset about wanting to go, and everyone acts as though she usually gets orders before doing anything, because she's apparently G.I. Jane now.
Hear me? You might get in with the wrong sort of women.
Highly unlikely, miss.
Because he doesn't get into any woman. I felt like explaining the joke. And on the way over we get these shots, which go from handheld and urgent feeling and into the realm of I think the cameraman's drunk.
We need to be practical, ladies. World peace has to be fought for.
Yes, our evil group of middle-class women are seeking world peace, by any means necessary. It's an interesting choice for villains.
Naturally, we meet with opposition. We expect opposition in a world ruled by men.
Men, yes. You're prepared to face men, but are you prepared to face a legend? I hope so, because he's waiting outside.
You know, you'll find the mark of a throwing knife in the panelling somewhere, if you care to look.
Adamant talks to the doorman, pointing out the suit of armour that was there the last time he was in the building, and the camera lingers just enough for us to see the building's lovely interior. They must have had a good year. Anyway, eventually the ladies let him enter the main room, and he's greeted with David Tennant levels of squee.
He's rather handsome, isn't he, Charity?
Shh, my dear. You don't want to embarrass Mr. Adamant.
And no, that's not me endorsing the idea that Tennant should play Adamant in a remake.
My name is Charity. This is Faith and Hope.
Okay, what the fuck are the others called? Thelma and Louise? They agree to let Adamant look around, but some rooms are off limits to non-members. Clearly, that's where the concentrated villainy is going on. Come on, Adamant, put your balls where your patriotism is. Cut them off, join the club and investigate fully. Lie down and think of England. Some other people with very particular fetishes will thank you for it.
May I offer you 100 guineas for your cause?
Or you can just bribe them. I suppose that's cheaper. Anyway, he gets the youngest and most attractive member of the club assigned to be his tour guide. Apparently it's in his contract that only a woman under the age of 27 can be allowed to bludgeon him. As he's been taken around, Faith, Hope and Charity decide to read one-line descriptions of Adamant taken from the series Bible.
A dangerous man.
Oh, yes.
But just a man.
A gentleman.
Well, a dangerous gentleman. I noticed a tendency to the old warlike attitude. Something in his manner which suggests that he positively thrives on battle.
And a flag in his lapel. Where did he get it? Where?
Now, if I remember correctly, those flags are given out in exchange for donations. He expressed interest in giving you charitable donations. The obvious answer really is not that hard to work out. Unless they only give flags to people that they murder. Because if so, fucking stupid. They decide to kill Adamant, hopefully after they get the money from him. And Prudence comes within 2 steps of giving Adamant a blowjob in the middle of the corridor. I think she just wants to get the seduction part over with and get on to the whacking of his head. He cuts the tour off early and leaves. And we find out that the evil ladies have someone to watch over them, as the doorman is actually the brains behind the organisation. Fucking typical. Evil women can't be smart enough to be evil by themselves. Anyway, a government guy was told he'd be murdered by 10 p.m, so Adamant rushed over to his house at 9:30. Of course the guy, like myself, has a question.
And anyway, why warn me?
Maybe the villains are the clue master. All of them. At once. Anyway, Adamant has to keep the guy alive until 10, which is in less than 30 minutes' time. So like the genius that he is, he has him go to bed with his wife, instead of actually protecting him.
Hello?
Is it done, Yuri?
No, Comrade Premier. It has only begun.
Very cool. Continuity. Someone stolen the hypnotic sound technology from Sing a Song of Murder. But why did the woman at the start hunt down and murder the guy in the park, using the symbol of their organisation and leaving the fucking murder weapon, if they were capable of taking someone over with an alien presence and killing him that way?
Oh, you must be a relative. We were so sorry to hear about poor Mr. Jarrett. Would you please try to convey our condolences?
Sending one of your people to do that less than a minute after he died was a nice touch. But Adamant's not exactly blameless. He just assumed the guy was okay because he didn't hear any murder. Apparently the guy forgot that it's possible to kill someone quietly. Anyway, over at the women's club, they're happy that the government guy's dead, and Faith is possibly the stupidest character I've ever seen in British 1960s television.
He will come, won't he?
Of course he'll come. He'll want to know about the wreath, won't he?
I hope he does come. And he's going to be very cross with us.
The doorman, the patriarch of this evil organisation, looks a bit like a young Peter Weller. Now I'm going to imagine that after he gets killed, he would have been brought back as a killer cyborg if the show had lasted until the 3rd season.
Miss Jones,
And it's initiation night. It could be interesting.
I expressly told you not to come here. You could be in severe danger.
You would say the park swings were dangerous for me just to keep me out of the way. Well, I'm honourably employed. There's nothing you can do about it.
With the amount of really short-term jobs she's had, she's going to find it really hard to get an actual job one of these days. So the technology from the music episode isn't the only thing that they're reusing. They're initiating a new member into the club, so they're reusing the costumes from the Satanist Orgy episode. And frankly, this episode is pretty boring. I feel like I've been watching the same thing 1,492 times. The only thing that's keeping it watchable is the directing. It's really quite good. The initiation involves spinning something while a rejected soundtrack to Tron plays.
Are you a man who might take advantage?
Well, that depends on the situation, madam.
In this situation?
I'm afraid not.
Ah, he saw through her cheap attempt at seduction followed by a laughable attempt at concussion. Bravo! So, thanks to the initiation, this woman can now be used as one of their mobile assassins. I can certainly see why they chose just to stab the guy at the start. They can't have all the assassinations caused by brainwashed members of their own organisation. Though why exactly, instead of having one set of murders that leads right back to them, they chose instead to have another set of murders that leads right back to them, I have no idea.
How unfortunate for you, my dear.
Keep away from me. Both of you. I'll scream.
Do so by all means. Apart from the soundproofing, there is a celebration party going on in the reception room now.
So perhaps you would like to see just exactly what initiation is all about.
I want to know who sent you here. Do you understand that?
So we discover that the evil women aren't only being led by the doorman, who I'm convinced is only angry because he knows Buckaroo Banzai won't be made for years and work for professional Peter Weller impersonator is light right now. Anyway, we discover that the villainous women aren't even villainous. He's manipulated nice women into killing people that they thought were evil. And the interesting concept of middle-class women killing people for peace completely falls apart. And to think I praised the first episode's atypical treatment of women. As you can guess, Miss Jones is programmed to kill Adamant. Or at least try. Brainwashed main characters much better than her have tried. And failed.
It's a Miss Jones.
Me?
It's the club.
Oh, this'll be really, really easy to deny if she fails.
The telephone.
Yes, sir?
That is what happened to Jared. It was the only way they could communicate with him, and the phone rang at exactly 10 p.m.
The noise kept going after she put the phone down. Not only that, but it managed to get louder. When things don't make sense, I get annoyed. When things decide to fuck sense in the ass, I give grudging respect. Adamant is Nicolas Cage in The Wicker Man. The villain here is like Hannibal. He gets little victories, but he cannot win the war. Anyway, what exactly is the guy's plan? The doorman is paid by foreign governments to assassinate people that they don't like. And he convinced the woman to do it because, there's no rational explanation for this. It's a pointlessly complicated and expensive assassination thing. It's sad. The most sensible thing here is how the sound weapon works, seeing as it's similar to the technology we saw a few episodes ago. Anyway, because we're nearing the end of the episode, the doorman has decided to stop hiding his evil from the nice little old ladies he's been convincing to murder people.
I think now that we ought to promote Mrs. Tudor, Mrs. Wright, and Mrs. Winter to full membership.
3 at once.
The woman initiated yesterday has stopped from murdering her husband by Adamant because he's fucking amazing. We don't get to see the other 2 victims killed today that Adamant didn't manage to save, but that's okay because after some crap about stuff, the doorman locks Miss Jones in a room.
She's only a child, Randall.
Don't worry, I'm not going to kill her. There are 3 perfectly respectable ladies who can do it for me.
Why not just hypnotize people into killing themselves? Just an idea. So she gets away, there's some arguing and...
She must die, dear lady. Surely you can see that.
She will die or I will impersonate James Mason even more loudly.
It's simply murder.
And what do you think that you have been doing? Isn't that murder?
The doorman stabs Faith, which is okay because although she's wide-eyed and possibly insane, she's also as thick as cow shit. Adamant faces off against Prudence. He avoided being seduced and knocked out by her. Will he break her arm and help me win shit unlikely to happen in Adamant bingo? Sounds enough like it for me. Adamant's got the hat trick. No seduction, no unconsciousness, and he caused physical harm. I'm happy to say that it looks like he's finally learning. Nice touch with her fixing her hair afterwards, though. So the showdown, a crap version of the end of the Terribly Happy Embalmers. There we had some badass duelists battling for victory. Here, a wannabe gladiator swings a mace about as people randomly drop dead and finally has a heart attack because he's terrified of Adamant. Yeah, he was poisoned, but it's a little hard to make out. They find the new initiates crying over someone they just killed, and they don't tell us who it was.
Drink this. This will help you.
Yes, drink will really help you when you go to jail for killing an extra from Z-Cars who wandered too close to the soundstage. This isn't an episode, it's Frankenstein's Adamant. Pieces of better episodes were stitched together to create this episode, which is not the sum of its parts. It's not the worst the show has to offer because it has good elements such as the directing and the Hamlet-like pile of bodies at the end. But it's just not that great. Oh, and it was directed by Ridley Scott, some guy who I'm sure never went anywhere.